Okay, hello everybody and welcome to Eerie Earth and this live stream where I will be talking about everything to do with Eerie Earth as a whole and talking about the kind of past Eerie Earth and also what is to come. Now we are just going to wait a few minutes just to see who decides to come and join. If you want to get involved with this live stream, you are more than welcome to do so. You can start by getting in where I will be talking about everything to do with Eerie Earth. So, yes, you can get involved by poll and commenting in the chat, and you can also ask me questions and I'll answer the questions, and also let me know that if you do subscribe to the channel during this live stream, please let me know so that I can call you out. Otherwise, I will not get notifications for it. But guys, I think we'll just wait a few minutes and we'll just see if anybody wants to come along and give you guys a chance to get into the stream, join the stream. I'm just going to share this stream out to my social media platforms so that everyone can find it and see it when they need to. So just bear with me on that one. So it should be copy link to that one. Okay, just bear with me while I go ahead and do this. We'll just wait for a few more people to come on, and from there we will be able to get sorted. So, got a fly flying around, really annoying. But I hope everyone is having a good bank holiday weekend. I've actually been not very well myself. I've had COVID, which is not nice. So trying to actually do anything with COVID is, I'm sure, as you appreciate if you've had it already, that it is quite debilitating. It does take away quite a lot of your take up quite a lot of your time. It kind of prevents you from wanting to do anything because it can be quite tiring. So with that, there, so let me just see this. Right, so let's just share this out. And we will post that on there and hopefully people will come along. Remember guys, if you do want to get involved, then just head over to the chat and I will be able to see who's there. Just say hello, come along, get involved, and we can go from there. I'm just doing this to get this across. I spent some time yesterday, we'll obviously go over this in a second, but I spent some time yesterday just going over my website, making sure everything's up together, and everything is all groovy with that there. Okay, so that is shared out, so it should be all groovy on that one. Okie dokie. I just need to sort myself out. I wanted to be able to try and get on here on time for you guys, because the worst thing is when you are doing a live stream and it's a late start, you know, but we're here. Okay, so now everything is kind of set up, we will just get started and people can come and join in if they wish and go from there. But guys, so welcome to this Eerie Earth live stream. Now, for those who are joining who don't necessarily know what Eerie Earth is, let me explain what Eerie Earth is and how it came about. So Eerie Earth is my paranormal horror podcast. It's a podcast that appears on any podcast station that you get your podcasts. So Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, anywhere like that. Hello, Quinton Theatre Company. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. Yes. Hopefully it will be very, very good. Fingers crossed. We'll see. So Eerie Earth is my paranormal podcast. It started life in 2020 during the lockdown. A lot of people I know around that time started their own podcast. They also wanted to get their message out there by whatever means necessary. I was doing a podcast before that for my old paranormal group, which was called the Paranormal Guys Podcast. And that consisted of myself and my old teammate, Chris, where we would just discuss things to do with the paranormal, and we create this little podcast, and it went out. And then somebody over at a radio station in America called Midnight FM, happened across the Paranormal Guys podcast, thought it was really good, liked the way that I presented, and asked if I wanted to create my own podcast for them. And that's where Eerie Earth was born. It was more to kind of give me something to do so I didn't go stir crazy, because I was made redundant and didn't have a job and I was very bored, didn't have anything to do, so I wanted to create Eerie Earth to pass some time. But what actually came from it was this passion which I never knew I really had. I always have passion for things, but they always kind of sizzle out after a while. But for some reason, with this, the passion just stayed there, and it just bubbled up even more and just got more and more intense. And I actually ended up falling in love with what I was doing and creating this fantastic, in my opinion, some fantastic episodes and writing some incredible stuff. It was giving the ability to use my writing skills, which I had never really had an opportunity to do. I come from quite a creative family, so being able to use that creativity in a way was quite nice. So Eerie Earth was born. I started writing these paranormal stories horror stories based on paranormal events. I would then read them in a creepy, spooky way, and there'd be sound effects and there'd be music put on, and that went on for a good couple of months. And then, unfortunately, the radio station, it kind of collapsed in on itself. They got a bit too big for their boots. And then it kind of caved in and didn't really come much to anything. So unfortunately, I was kind of left with Eerie Earth in my arms and a front door being closed in my face, and I was kind of looking around going, well, what do I do with this? Now I've got this thing I've created, and I don't know what to do with it. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to give this up. In the names of Hamilton, I'm not going to throw away my shot, and I'm going to build on it. And that's what I've done. I've built on Eerie Earth. I've created a website, and I've also then branched out into other aspects of horror and paranormal, if you like. So as well as still doing these paranormal stories, I've also started writing audio dramas, which is something which I've always been toying with. Like, I've always wanted to write scripts and always wanted to do something like that, but I've never had the confidence to do it. And as I say, I come from a very creative family. Both my parents, they're in the world of theatre, in the world of acting. My dad was a drama teacher for many, many years, and he was very successful drama teacher, and very passionate about what he did. And he used to love creating shows. And then my mum is a fantastic writer as well. So she writes all these wonderful plays that they've gone to Edinburgh Fringe Festival with it. They've even gone over to America with some of the plays. And they're absolutely fantastic. My oldest brother, he's now a talent agent, but he was an actor before. My middle brother, he's fantastic at playing instruments and playing music. So we come from a very creative family. So I was able to harness that creativity that for some reason I've got. I thought maybe it missed a generation when I was at school, but excuse me, it doesn't seem to have missed that generation. I am very creative in terms of my writing. I think I get my writing from my mum. I think that's where I get it from. That's who I like to, say thank you for, is getting that gene. But so I write a lot. I write an awful lot, almost all the time. So I've written... so far, it will be 4 audio dramas, and 4 of them are on Spotify, and they're also on, like I say, all the other platforms as well, even on here on YouTube and on my website. So the first audio drama I wrote was way back in 2021, beg your pardon. But I'd actually written that script many, many years ago. I wrote it back in 2010, and that was a script which at the time it was called The Rising, and it was going to be just a book which I was going to write. That was my intention. I was going to write this novel, and it was going to be about a zombie apocalypse in Edinburgh. And I decided that actually it had been sitting on my computer for so long, and I wasn't actually doing anything with it, that I decided, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to actually do something with it. The whole Midnight FM thing has stopped. I'm kind of in a lull. I don't really know where I can get my inspiration from. I don't really know what I can write. Let's use something I've already written and turn it into an audio drama. Let's try my hand at doing audio dramas. Now, at the time, I was also trying to do some voice acting. So I was enjoying doing some voice acting, and I thought I'd done a couple of audio dramas. And I thought, you know what, I think I could write my own. So anyway, long story short, I wrote this script for a show called The Fallen, which is about a zombie apocalypse in Edinburgh. And it was based on this novel that I'd written called The Rising. And it was about a girl who'd moved from Bristol. I was living in Bristol at the time when I wrote it. And it was about a girl who moved from Bristol with her mum and her little brother up to Edinburgh after her dad had passed away. And while she was in Edinburgh, the zombie apocalypse happened, and it kind of destroyed the city. And the novel was about her trying to survive in Edinburgh during the zombie apocalypse. But the audio drama was following her and how she got her rescue from a group called the Crows, who took them into a place called Atlantis to keep them safe. But then that fell apart, and she had to go out into Edinburgh and try and survive. Now, I absolutely love all things to do with zombies. So I love zombie movies. I love The Walking Dead. I love all the Korean zombie movies that you see out there. So I have a real passion for, and you can even see just up there behind me, a picture of Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. So I also love The Last of Us as well. So I've got a lot of passion about everything to do with zombies. So to be able to do a audio drama based on something I absolutely love, I was able to put all my passion into it. And I managed to get some really awesome, incredible actors as well to help me bring my story to life, including some people which I knew from the past. So I got one of my dear friends, Jay, to do it. I even got my dad involved in it. Gave him a little bit of acting in it as well, which he was very happy with. But what was really nice was I was able to give these people who were up and coming actors who wanted to get their break and wanted to do stuff for their CVs and for their repertoire to be able to get a little bit more work and maybe branch out into something different. It was able to give them, at least dip their toe in the sea of all this creativity. And what I've got from that is I've got a group of people who I consider to be friends, to be honest, who have really been able to bring all of my work together. So I was able to create season 1 of The Fallen, and I was very, very excited about it and very, very happy about it. But when it was finished, I kind of was at a bit of a loss. I didn't know what to do. It had finished, I had lost, I didn't know what to do. And I kind of looked back on it and I thought, there were some things I could do better. I'm the kind of person that when I put something out there, even though people will tell me this is absolutely fantastic, I will never believe it because I'll always think that there's something I could do better. And that's what I felt with season 1 of The Fallen. I thought there's some things that I could do which could be better. And I'll just kind of be honest with myself with that. But I then kind of sat down and went, right, where could I go next? What could I do next? I know I want to do a season 2 of The Fallen, but I don't want to do that straight away. I want to wait at least a year before season 2 comes out. So I started working on my next audio drama. My next audio drama was one which was called The McKinley Haunting 2. Now, the reason it's called McKinley Haunting 2 was back in 2020, for 2020 Halloween in 2020, I wrote an original piece, which was a 2-part episode, because when I was doing Midnight FM, they wanted their episodes to be half an hour long, and to try and write something to make sure it's half an hour long of just constant talking and constant writing, it's really actually quite difficult when you think about it, because I'm the kind of person that when I sit down to write, I'm just writing. I'm writing. My fingers are going crazy. There's smoke coming off the keyboard. My brain is burning. Literally, that's all I am doing is just writing. And I don't think about how long is this going to be. I just keep writing. And then when I'm recording it and it turns out to be like an hour long, or it turns out to be 45 minutes long. And I'm like, oh, well, this is now too long. So working with Midnight FM, it was able to teach me about making sure I had the right timings for things, making sure I was able to get things done on time. So it was a really great skill to have. However, I just kind of felt restricted as to what I could do. So for the Halloween special of 2020, I did this long, I wrote this really in-depth, quite spooky, I felt, story, completely original story. But it had to be in 2 parts because I'd written for like an hour long. It was really, really, really long. And I absolutely loved writing it. It was about a young guy who lived in a town called Clearburn. and he was absolutely obsessed with Halloween. And on this Halloween, he was going to this haunted mansion to meet up with his friends. And his friends were very much like him, loved Halloween, but they wanted to go and break into this mansion, have a look around it, the height of Halloween, get a scare. But he got there before his friends, and he went in just to have a wee look around, ended up getting attacked by the ghost that was there, the ghost of a bride. And it turned into this kind of roller coaster of emotion for young Matt, and also a roller coaster of fear, I'd like to think. And it was quite a kind of a haunting sort of story. So when I finished The Fallen, I kind of sat there and I went, right, what can I do now? I want to do something that could play into my strengths. Now, some of you who follow me or who have watched this, I may know this, but I have a background in the paranormal. I have been investigating the paranormal since 2007. I absolutely love everything to do with the paranormal. I live and breathe the paranormal, as I'm sure you could probably tell. And I wanted to write something about my experiences, be able to write something that I'd be able to put my experiences into. So I came up with The McKinley Haunting 2, which is an audio drama sequel to the first original story I did back in 2020 called The McKinley Haunting. So it's called McKinley Haunting 2 Dark Night Paranormal, and it follows a paranormal group who have travelled over to America to investigate the case of the McKinley Haunting. Now, the McKinley Haunting had become almost like a bit of a cult following, information only being found on the dark net, so you really had to dig deep in order to find information about where this haunting had come from, to find out information about the haunting. So it was a really kind of niche thing that people needed to go and find. Now, our protagonist, his name was Max, and he was obsessed with the paranormal. He was very much like me. He was actually played by myself. I do like to add. But yes, there was a lot of inspiration from myself in the way that I investigate that was put into Max and also Dark Night Paranormal. So I like to have a look at it as the way I was investigating that case. How would I have investigated it? And that's what I was looking at. So I wrote this audio drama about this team of investigators who were investigating this case, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was done. I thought I had done it really well. I was really proud of it, and I thought I was able to create the fear and the horror around an investigation without it being over the top, without it being cheesy. I used some of the same actors that I'd used in The Fallen as well. I'm going to be touching on a reason for that later on. But some of the same actors were in it, and that would also give them a chance, and a chance for me to see how they would react in a different circumstance than The Fallen. So if I wanted to use them again in the future. I also used some a couple of actors that I'd worked with in a Game of Thrones audio drama that I was voice acting in, so I worked with them as well. That opened up a new sort of pond of availability. I was also able to work with a professional actor who is he's been in movies and he has been in TV, and he is an incredible actor. So I was able to work with him as well, and his dedication knew no bounds to this role. He was fantastic. Carl Wharton, I'm just going to drop his name in there. Fantastic actor. So once that was done and McKinley Haunting 2 was finished, I was so proud of it. I was so happy of it. I thought, you know what, this is it. This is what I want to do now. This is where I want to bring Eerie Earth. I want to bring it into the world of audio drama. And I also still want to do the short shows as well, but audio dramas is kind of where I want to be. I found my niche. I found my the place that I need to be. But just quickly, before we move on to carrying on talking about Eerie Earth and what's going to go in the future, if you guys are enjoying this live stream and you want to see more and you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Support this channel where you can. Any support you guys can give for this channel would be very much appreciated. And we're just having a look at the numbers and look at the chat. There doesn't seem to be anyone chatting at the moment, but if you want to ask any questions throughout this, then please feel free to. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have got about anything to do with paranormal or anything to do about Eerie Earth, or if there's anything that you want to say, then please feel free to do so. So, I've talked about The Fallen. I've talked about the McKinley Haunting 2. Now, we're going to move on to the third audio drama, which is Season 2 of The Fallen. Now, Season 2 of The Fallen, I am so happy with. I cannot express how happy I was with this. What I was able to do with Season 2 of The Fallen is that I was able to expand the story a lot more. I didn't have the constraints of sticking to a novel which I'd already written, which I felt like I needed to stick to, and I couldn't really deter from that. So I was able to come up with a brand new story based from the characters. And also what I was able to do was able to utilize the actors which I had used before, but be able to say to them, look, imagine that you have been this character for a year. See how you would expand this character. Be this, like, live and breathe this character. This character is yours. I want you to take everything that you want to put into it and just imagine that you are this character. So they were able to bring something which I didn't think they'd be able to bring, if I'm completely honest, to the caliber that they brought it. But not only that, is I was actually able to increase my skill as a director, increase my skill as a writer, but also as an editor as well. I managed to do things on that audio drama which I didn't even think was possible for me to do. I thought was beyond my writing, beyond my directing, beyond my editing. So there's been a few new skeletons found in Edinburgh under the tram route. Would you consider doing a live podcast and something like that, or do you prefer fiction? That I have not heard that. That is actually really, really cool. That is something I would definitely consider doing. I would absolutely consider doing that and speaking to maybe people on the council and who work for the tram company and try and find out about that. I hadn't realised that they had found skeletons there. Absolutely, 100%. That would be something I'd love to do. That was something which you talk about. Do I prefer doing fiction? Yes and no. When I was doing Midnight FM, I was very restricted into how I could do my episodes because I said that I wanted to start getting people to interview. So like the second episode of Eerie Earth I did about the Edinburgh vaults and Mary King's Close. And I did the whole dramatic fiction part of it, talking about what the Southbridge vaults were like, what Mary King's Close was like, going over the history. But I also included an interview with one of the tour guides for Old Reiki Tours, which was absolutely fantastic. She was absolutely lovely. It was a really nice interview and I was really proud of it. But when I gave it over to Midnight FM, I was told by them, don't do that again. Don't do interviews because that's not what you're about. You're about fiction. You're about writing. People don't want to hear interviews from someone who's doing fiction. So I was kind of between a rock and a hard place because I was like really excited that I'm doing stuff for this for this radio station, but then I was restricted as to I wasn't able to really do what I wanted to do. So I created this YouTube channel where I put up videos where I interviewed a Aberdonian magician, Christian Seneke. I also, when I was doing the Paranormal Guys podcast, I'd also interviewed a lady over in Minnesota about a haunted house. I was able to interview a dear friend of ours who is now a doctor and does about dark tourism. So I was able to expand my sort of repertoire, if you like, to make it a little bit better. So I was able to do all these interviews and stuff. So yeah, I would absolutely love to interview somebody about that. I'll have to do a lot more research and find out. Hello, Chris. Would you ever consider creating a short paranormal movie? 100% yes. I would absolutely 100% love to create a paranormal movie. If I could create a movie that would be something similar to Paranormal Activity, or even like if I could make like a movie of like something similar to the McKinley Haunting and be able to create a short movie about paranormal investigators or something, I would love that. It would be a dream come true. I'm actually going to be talking about that in a wee bit about one of the other audio dramas. But yes, absolutely, 100%. I would be absolutely down for making a short paranormal movie. So if you know anyone that needs a writer, director, then please send it my way. I will be more than happy to do that. So I was talking about The Fallen Season 2. So the Fallen Season 2, yes. So I was able to do all this fantastic stuff with editing, writing and directing. Able to do things I never thought I'd be possible to do. And then my actors, they went up a notch. So from what I thought my incredible actors were able to do with their characters, they turned it up to 11. And some of the stuff they created and some of the scenes I even listen to now and I get a lump in my throat, because I think there's no way that, one, I created this, two, that I've written any of this, and three, that the actors are so good that they're able to portray what I've written down, which in season 2 is kind of quite hard stuff to talk about. You know, it's talking about death, and it's talking about a character dies on you know, in the audio drama, and it's quite an emotional scene, and they're able to portray it so well. And I was so proud of them and so proud of what I created. And what's really also amazing about these actors, and they are so kind, is that they actually do all this for free. Because I am a non-profit, I don't make any money from what I do. I can't pay the actors, and they're all aware of that, but they are still willing to give up their time, to give up their dedication, to record some fantastic quality stuff. Now, when I was looking for actors, I spoke to my brother. As I said, he's a talent agent, and he said to me that if you're not going to pay your actors, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get actors that don't give you dedication, that don't work hard, that don't put in the hard work. And I completely disagree, because I don't pay these guys, but they give me some fantastic quality work, and I have never been so proud of people, because they work so hard, and you can tell that the dedication that they give to the pieces is fantastic. Now, as I've mentioned, I did work with some people who I'd worked with before in The Fallen, but also worked again with them in The McKinley Haunting. Now, my fourth audio drama covers the topic that Chris just put in the chat there. The fourth one just came out a couple of days ago, and it's called Hunted. And it started its life originally back in 2010. I wrote a script for a short horror movie, which I wanted to make. I was so passionate about making, and it was a low-budget horror movie, because I absolutely love low-budget horror. So when you see things like the quality of the work, like Evil Pinata and Death Sofa and Evil Turkey, or whatever they're all called, these really bad low-budget horror films, I absolutely love them, because I think they actually work harder because they don't have the money to make the effects that these big Hollywood movies do. So I was looking at these low-budget horror films, and I was going, I really want to make one. I really want to make all these cheesy effects and write this fantastic script which is going to be the epitome of cheese. How can I do this? So I started writing this script called Hunted, or The Hunter it was at the time, about two brothers who went on a camping trip that turned out to be a little bit worse than they thought. They were being hunted down by a hillbilly character, reminiscent of things like Wrong Turn or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then, unfortunately, I never got to make the movie, so the script just sat there in a box or on the computer, and it never ever saw the light of day. So when I finished writing The Fallen Season 2, I thought, right, I need to start writing on my next audio drama. What can it be? I know, I've already got a script. Let's adapt this script into an audio drama. So that's what I did. I adapted The Hunter into an audio drama and called it Hunted. But this time it was two brothers, the brother's wife, and their friend. So there was 4 characters I needed. And I knew exactly who to turn to. I returned to my original cast from The Fallen, asked them if they wanted to come along and do this for me, and they absolutely did. And again, they smashed it out of the park. The acting is fantastic in Hunted. Again, I haven't paid them, so they've done it hard work and dedication without getting paid. And I feel bad that I can't pay them. I really do feel bad. But in order for me to be able to produce this stuff without making money myself, then it's just something that needs to happen, unfortunately. But if you want to check out The Hunted, it is now available everywhere, so please check it out. I would highly recommend it, and I would really like some feedback on what you guys think. It's set in 1980s, because I was born in the 80s and I grew up in the 90s, but I really think I should have been born 10 years before, because I really want to be able to. I really absolutely love the old 80s movies, you know, Lost Boys, The Goonies, Princess Bride, all those kind of old 80s movies. I absolutely love them. So I think I was born in the wrong era, but Yeah, so if you want to go check it out, it's everywhere. I do highly recommend it. I will be talking more about what's coming up later, but I'm going to head over to the chat to see what this next question is. So, what is your opinion on ghosts? Your mission statement is to debunk the paranormal. However, do you believe the possibility of ghosts, and have you ever experienced anything you cannot explain? Okay, this is a loaded question. My opinion on ghosts, first of all, we'll take that one. I am very much on the fence. You're absolutely right. My mission statement is to debunk the paranormal. Absolutely. I want to be able to explain the paranormal in a natural way. I want to be able to go into a place and say, you're saying that you're hearing footsteps. What time are you hearing footsteps? You're hearing footsteps at 11 o'clock every night. Okay, so let's work out, why are you hearing these footsteps at 11 o'clock at night? What could be happening at 11 o'clock at night which could be causing these footsteps? Instead of just going in going, is there anybody there? Please make these footsteps. And then nothing happening, going, oh, it just mustn't be active tonight. No, let's go in and properly investigate it. Let's debunk it. Let's come up with a rational explanation for it. And if we can't come up with a rational explanation, only then do we go, okay, that's interesting. That could be something paranormal. Now, the word paranormal doesn't necessarily mean that it's ghosts or spirits or cryptozoology. So it couldn't be like Bigfoot or Loch Ness, or it could be UFOs. Paranormal just means something that's not normal, and that's something to really, really pay attention to. I believe in the possibility of ghosts. Yes, I'm very much on the fence. I would love to be able to experience something that would make me go 100%, yes, there's definitely something here, 100%, I 100% believe, but I'm yet to find that. And have I ever experienced anything you cannot explain? In all honesty, no. There's not been anything that I've walked away from going, I have no idea how that happened. The only thing, well, there's two things, I suppose. But the first thing, the only thing I can really explain, was back in 2010, I investigated a Napoleonic fort down in Somerset. And while we were there, we were filming down this corridor. I've spoken about this many, many times. Filming down this corridor, but it was blocked off by a gate, so you couldn't actually access the corridor, and there wasn't an access to the back of the corridor. It just went to cliffs, so there was no way for anybody to actually get there. I was down there with myself, there was my partner Jess, and there was two other male investigators stood down there. So I was filming with the camera, filming down the corridor, and I said, is there anybody there who would like to make contact with us? We did not hear this at the time. At the time we thought, no, we haven't caught anything, let's move on. It wasn't until I got home, watched back the footage, that when I said, is there anybody there who wants to make contact with me, we hear what sounds like a little girl crying. And it sounds so loud, and it sounds like she's sobbing, and I cannot explain it. That is one thing I cannot explain. And the only female investigator that was there was Jess, and she absolutely 100% did not make that noise. 100%. So I showed this footage to Kieran O'Keefe, who is a parapsychologist, and he looked at it and he said, this is incredibly interesting. Have you gone back to investigate it? Unfortunately, we weren't able to because the location stopped paranormal investigators going there, so we were unable to go back. And he said that unless we were able to go back to completely cement that it was paranormal, he'd be willing to accept it as paranormal, which for me was just icing on the cake for this piece of evidence, because I was amazed that a parapsychologist has said this has a potential to be real evidence. So that was exciting. And then again in 2010, I investigated a pub called the Black Castle, which is in Bristol. Anyone from Bristol, you may recognize the Black Castle. It's a really nice pub. It's a chain pub, and we had the run of the pub the whole night until 5 in the morning. It was really, really cool investigation, one that will stick in my mind forever. Now, during that investigation, we caught quite a few things. We caught a few sounds. We caught my team members Liam and Jess, my partner, both experienced what we call a personal experience, of where they could both validate the same thing, which was really interesting. But I took a picture in this location, looking down at the bar. Now in this picture you can see what looks like a little boy standing at the bar with a backpack on. And it looks like he's got his hands up on the bar and you can't see his head. So I thought, That's really cool. That's really weird. But that could easily just be pareidolia. That's fine. And pareidolia, if you don't know, is when you're looking at an image and your brain is trying to make sense of an image when you can't see it. So, i.e., looking at clouds or anything like that, you're trying to make sense of an image because it doesn't work out just plain image. It needs to see something. So I thought, oh, it must just be pareidolia. I'll just ignore it. That's fine. And it was during 2020 when I was, one of my days where I was really bored, I was just looking through old pictures on my phone and I happened across this photograph that I had taken back in 2010 and I was looking at it. And then I zoomed in on it. I thought, oh, this can't just be pareidolia. It has to be something more. And when I zoomed in on it, you can see in it the very clear image of a woman's face. You can see that she's kind of off to the side. She's got these black lips and black eyes, and she looks like she's wearing a nun's habit. Now, I thought that was very strange that for 10 years I had never seen this picture, and I stared at it, and I was convinced that I could see this face. So I showed it to my family, and I showed it to my friends, and I said, I'm not going to tell you what I see, but can anyone tell me what they see? Now, I think I showed about 5 or 6 people. And out of those 5 or 6 people, 4 of them said they could see this face, whereas 2 of them said they couldn't see anything, which I think is really interesting. Without me telling them what they were seeing this face. So for me, those 2 bits are the only bits of experiences that I cannot explain. I'm going to talk about that later on, because it's a bit of a controversial subject. I'll talk about it later on. But with all those stuff talking about Eerie Earth and talking about what I have done in the past, let's talk about what's going to be happening with Eerie Earth in the future. So as you can see at the very top of the screen there, I've got my website address, eerieearth.com. So that's one of the websites that I created, or the website that I created for Eerie Earth. So I've actually expanded a lot on that. I've talked about what's going to be happening with Eerie Earth during that. I've also got full cast lists for all my audio dramas. I've also got all my episodes up there as well. And I've also expanded Eerie Earth as a brand. So now I've also got Eerie Earth as a main. I've got Eerie Nerd Gaming, which is my YouTube gaming channel, where I do gaming live streams of horror games primarily. But I've also got the Eerie Nerd Podcast, which is a podcast talking about things to do with nerd related things, so TV shows, games, that sort of thing. There's not very many episodes of that one, to be honest. But then I've also got Eerie Earth Paranormal, which is my intention to bring up the torch of being a paranormal investigator again and going out and trying to investigate all these places that I've always wanted to investigate. And that is my aim with Eerie Earth, and create my own kind of paranormal group again and do that. So that's what I kind of want to do. But I really want to expand Eerie Earth and make Eerie Earth something bigger than just what you see, just bigger than a YouTube channel, bigger than Spotify. I really want to just expand it out, and that's kind of what my aim is. So I am looking to, maybe next year, is setting up Eerie Earth tours. It's where I hold ghost tours around Edinburgh. That is my aim, is for next year, is to set that up. But I'm not going to delve into that anymore because I don't want to spoil anything. I've also set up a Patreon page, which you can see the kind of logo there next to me. Patreon is it's almost like a subscription service. So people pay a certain amount a month, and then you get something for that payment. So if anyone was to help me out with my Patreon, that would be £3 a month, and what you would get for that at the moment is that you would just get a shout out on every single thing I do. You'd be in the credits. You'd also get every shout out for every live stream I do. Every Eerie Nerd Gaming live stream I would give a shout out, and also every single episode of Eerie Earth you would get a shout out as well. Then if that started to get more popular, then there would be other tiers added of where I would start creating special episodes just for my patrons. They would also get exclusive interviews with the casts of my audio dramas, as well as special Q&A sessions and special live streams just for them as well. So that's something that I'm looking to explore into. At the moment, we've just got that one tier where you get a shout out if you were to subscribe, but I am looking to add a lot more and build up the brand of Eerie Earth to hopefully one day be able to sell merchandise and things like that, just to kind of make it. But that's going to be way, way, way down on the line. In terms of Eerie Earth shows. Now, there's something I was toying with. Now, the reason you might be wondering, why am I using the same actors? Now, there's a reason for that, and I wanted to create something which I call the Eerie Verse. And it sounds a bit weird, but I want to be able to use the same actors because I want. It's strange. It's strange because if you look at like things like Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor and Midnight Mass, that series, I can't remember the name of the director, but he basically uses the same actors, and he's created this universe of where the same actors play different characters. That's what I want to do with Eerie Earth. I want to have the same actors playing different characters, giving them a chance to also expand their repertoire playing different characters, but also to expand kind of Eerie Earth as well, to say that these are the actors that work for Eerie Earth, if you like, and they're always going to be here. They're always going to be as much as they want to do in these shows, creating this universe. So that's kind of what I want to do, and I think that's quite exciting. I'm really excited about the future of Eerie Earth, a lot more excited than I have been more recently. I am looking to do a lot more of these live streams, and I'm also looking to do interviews with the cast of some of the audio dramas, which we'll be doing live streams with the interviews. So there'll be a lot more of these live streams coming, so please just watch this space. But in terms of shows for Eerie Earth, there are going to be a couple more Eerie Earth episodes coming out, which I am in the process of writing at the moment, and then I'll be getting them recorded. So they will be the old style Eerie Earth episodes. But in the next audio drama that's coming out, I have released a trailer on TikTok, and it's basically like going to be like a fantasy audio drama. I've always wanted to write a fantasy story, and I've written for years different fantasy novels on and off, but I've written one which I've been toying with for many, many years, and I've decided to turn it into an audio drama. I'm a massive fan of D&D, of Dungeons and Dragons, if you don't know, and I play Dungeons and Dragons every week. I absolutely love it, and I wanted to make an audio drama based around kind of the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and that's kind of what I've done. So my next audio drama, although it's not going to be anything to do with the paranormal, it's something to do with fantasy. It's called Arno: Rise of Rebellion. And it's basically about a fantasy world where magic has been outlawed. Anyone who uses magic can get arrested and can get killed. And it's about a group of freedom fighters who are fighting against the king to kind of bring magic back. Obviously, a lot more happens in it, and it's a lot more exciting than what it sounds, I can promise you. But if you head over to my TikTok, you'll be able to see the trailer for Arno: Rise of Rebellion. Pardon me, it has got the same cast that have been in The Fallen and The Hunted, and also with some returning members as well who haven't been in the most recent audio dramas. But that is something I am really excited about. The episodes are very long. Each episode, I'm looking at about 45 minutes long for each episode. So I'm currently in the process of writing episode 4 of season 1. So I'm going to try and release episode 1 just to kind of get a feeling for what people think of it. But that's not to say that the horror side of Eerie Earth is not there. I just want to expand it a little bit and make it, have my fingers in different pies to see how we get on, if you like. And then obviously I am also going to be writing, I announced this on my Instagram, I believe it was. I did a teaser poster for season 3 of The Fallen. I haven't written it yet. I am in the very early planning stages of season 3 of The Fallen. I need to, because season 2 finished with such a dramatic ending and so much happened in that season, I need to work out where I go from there. So that is, I've also been focusing on Hunted and also on Arno as well. So there's lots of things I've been working on. So there are going to be it's going to be a little bit of a while before season 3 of The Fallen even starts to get created. But so season 3 of The Fallen will be coming. It will be happening. So if there are any fans of The Fallen there, I guarantee you it will be happening and it will be coming. Okie dokie. Now, I'm going to head back over to the chat. If there's anybody who wants to ask any questions, we've got about 15 minutes left of this live stream. So if there's any questions that anyone wants to ask, now is your opportunity to do so. Just pop it into the chat and I will respond. And I will be able to answer any questions that you've got about the paranormal, about Eerie Earth, about the future of Eerie Earth, the past of Eerie Earth. And we can go from there, or maybe some videos that you've seen on my channel. But there was something I was going to talk about, and I wasn't sure if I should talk about it because it's a little bit controversial. But you may have seen on my TikTok that I talked about a TV show and the way that they are portraying themselves. Now, I went on a TV show. I'm not going to name the name, but if you are a follower of Eerie Earth, you will know what TV show I'm talking about. You just need to head over to the channel. You'll see that there's an interview with this TV show. And recently that they have been changing the way that they do things. And it's becoming a little bit more controversial in the paranormal community because they're very... they're turning out to be a lot like Most Haunted in the sense of overreacting about things. And as a paranormal investigator, that makes me really, really angry and really upset because I'm so passionate about the paranormal, and when I see people taking advantage of it, it makes me angry, makes me upset. So my plan is to be doing a discussion episode of where Jess and I, because she appeared on the show with me, we will be discussing the show in detail. We'll be discussing what happened when we appeared on there and what has happened since. So that is something that we are in the process of planning. It's going to be a very controversial episode because we're going to talk quite deep about this channel, and it could potentially upset some followers of the channel and possibly the channel themselves. But I think it needs to come now that the channel is the show is coming out with all this elaborate things. It needs the truth needs to be told about kind of what we experienced. Now, we're not going to be slandering the show. We're not going to be getting into trouble with the show. It's just going to be what we experienced and what our experience of the show is, as people who witnessed it firsthand were able to talk about it. So that is kind of going to be something that I'm really looking forward to doing, and we're going to be recording that very soon. So just keep an eye on that. What would you suggest are essential kit items for a beginner paranormal investigator? Now, this is a very good question. And this is one which we would talk about in the upcoming episode I just discussed, but it is something which I have been asked an awful lot. When investigating the paranormal, you don't need all of these bells and whistles equipment. Now, back when I started investigating back in 2007, I started with just what you see. It's just myself, a camera, and very, very basic equipment. That's how we started out. And we were able to get some fantastic experiences, fantastic results. And we didn't have any of these REM pods or fancy K2 meters or EMF detectors or SLS cameras or all the kind of stuff you're seeing now. We literally just had our night vision camera, we had voice recorders, and we had K2 meters, and that was it. Because this was well before any of this technology had been invented. So literally, I think all you need if you wanted to start becoming a paranormal investigator is a camera. Now, it's entirely up to you as to whether or not you have a night vision camera. You can either have a camera with just a torch on it, or you can have a night vision camera. That's entirely up to you. I would recommend getting a voice recorder. Now, it can either just be a normal voice recorder. You can even have the voice recorder on your phone if you wish. Absolutely no problem. But also, I would say, yes, I say really that's it. Just a camera, your voice recorder. And if you wanted to have a K2 meter, I don't think they necessarily work for what they're essentially used for, then you can. But I think really just yourself, and depends what sort of area of the paranormal you're wanting to investigate. If you're wanting to be scientific, then you might want to consider getting all of the equipment so that you can use this equipment to debunk the paranormal or get evidence, it's entirely up to you. Or if you want to be a spiritual investigator, you might want to use things like pendulums, or you might want to use things like dowsing rods or Ouija boards or scrying mirrors or things like that. Personally, I hate those sort of things. I don't use them because I don't believe in them. But I am more happy to work with people who want to use them, and I've worked with people who have wanted to use them, but personally I don't like using them. I don't enjoy using them. I think it takes away from being an investigator personally, but that's because I am a debunking investigator. I go there to debunk, not to find evidence. So yeah, literally I would say voice recorder and a camera. I think the best kind of voice recorder you want to get, pardon me, I keep wiping my nose, sorry. The best recorder that you want to get is one called D60, I believe. And basically what that does, it doesn't record white noise. It records literally any audio that has been captured. So if I'm asking a question, is there any spirit person there? Usually the idea being that you'll wait 10 seconds, 10, 20 seconds, and then ask the next question after that. So it'll be things like, is there a spirit person there? 20 seconds. What is your name? 20 seconds. Have you got a message for us? 20 seconds. Now with this D60 voice recorder, basically what will happen is that when you play it back, it will go, if there's nothing being captured, it will say, is there any spirit person there? What is your name? Do you have a message for us? That's the idea. And then if there is anything captured, you'll then hear it in between the questions. Now, I've never used one before. I've seen one being used. You might remember, you might remember, Chris, Dad, you might remember when we went to Covenanters prison many years ago, back in like 2006 I think it was. You and I went to Covenanters prison, and they used a device like the one I've just described to record voices on the paranormal. So EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. Yes, so that is kind of the equipment I would suggest. Now, I've investigated some of the most haunted locations in the UK, being 30 East Drive and Ancient Ramin, and I have never ever found any evidence in any of those investigations to prove the existence of the paranormal. Now, one thing that was really interesting when I investigated 30 East Drive, is, you'll remember this as well, is that we actually didn't find anything, and we were able to actually go in there and debunk it and go, there's nothing here. This is the reason for all the things that are happening. There's absolutely nothing here. And I was able to walk out that investigation. I wasn't disappointed that nothing happened. I was actually quite happy nothing happened, because I was able to go, yeah, cool, wash my hands of it. It's done. Don't need to worry about it anymore. 30 East Drive is not haunted. Fine. And I've been able to do that with quite a few locations in my time as an investigator. But that's kind of what I want to do with Eerie Earth paranormal investigations, is that I want to be able to because I want to go in from a media look at it, if you like. So I want to go into a location not as an investigator to investigate, but not as a debunker. I want to go in there as a podcaster going, this is what we're experiencing, this is what we're seeing, and then be able to go put my paranormal investigator head on and go, right, this is what I think of what we've just experienced afterwards, but I want to be able to go in there as a kind of a media person, if you like. So that is my sort of aim with that. But again, that's going to come down in the future. Okay, so we've only got a couple more minutes, guys, before we'll be ending this live stream. So if there are any more other questions, then please get them in, and I'll be able to answer them for you guys. But I will just say, if anybody who's watching who hasn't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. Support the channel where you can. Every subscription is totally free to do so, and then you get access to notifications to whenever I go live, or whenever I upload anything new. You'll always be the first to know. You can also head over to Spotify and follow me on Spotify as well. You'll be the first to know when there's any new content being uploaded. You'll get a notification saying that I've put something up new. So it's completely free to do so. So I do highly recommend doing that. And if you did want to join the Patreon to help support Eerie Earth, you can head over to patreon.com/Eerie Earth to be able to donate £3 a month to get a shout out with every single Eerie Earth episode. If that's something that you think you might want to do, just head over there and do that. You can also follow me on all social media as well: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm not on Twitter, not anymore, but I don't do Twitter, so Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow me over there. And yeah, so I'm just going to leave it for a few more minutes, guys, just to see if anyone else has got any more questions. Other than that, then we will start winding down. Thank you so much to everybody who has come in and gotten involved, and thank you for the comments. I really, really do appreciate them. I really appreciate everybody who has got involved with this live stream. I do really appreciate it. But also, if this live stream will also be available on the channel, so if you have missed out and you haven't been able to catch up with it live, then you can get involved. And if you want to leave any comments down below in the comment section, I will and I do read every single comment on any video. So if you want to leave any comments on there, I do read them. I do get feedback from them, so I do that as well. Okay, guys, I think what we'll do is we will end it there. Thank you so much to everybody who got involved, who watched this live stream. Watch this space for more information about what's coming up on Eerie Earth, and make sure to turn on notifications to be notified whenever I go live next. I will obviously be putting up information on my socials to whenever I go live next, guys, but it should be maybe next week or the week after. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, bye bye for now.